Hello and welcome back to the Ack Attack Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jedi Master Aegon Kaloth, J, and joined as always is my co-host, Jedi Master Eth Kaloth.
None of those were right.
No, well,
Why did you insist on not reading it?
well, because I deleted it off my phone after I read them, and I didn't expect to have mic trouble.
Well,
So funny story, listener. My mic didn't work, so we had to redo this whole intro.
just for like 10 seconds, so it'll be fine.
It was a little annoying.
Better that we found it then than
God,
half an
if
hour
we'd
in.
recorded like an hour's worth and it didn't work, I think we might have just not had an episode for the
Yeah,
week.
probably not.
Because I was not going to rehash everything.
So, we watched...
The new Marvel movie, Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings.
So is it Shang-Chi? I think we've determined we started by saying just Shang-Chi, because that's obviously kind of how it's written phonetically if you read it in English. And then we heard and corrected ourselves on the podcast to be Shang-Chi.
With a
but
U sound.
in the movie, they did a bit of pronunciation guide. So I think it's, because his name is Sean, they say it's very similar. So I think you kind of say it like that, right?
Like Shang.
Shang-Chi. So I
Yeah.
guess what we're going to try to use going forward. But
Because they make that joke. That
yeah.
He just takes a G off his name.
Yeah.
And that was his great disguise.
So, yeah, we just got back from today. Well, not just back, but whatever. We watched it today. Real solid.
I really liked it. It was a very solid movie.
Very good offering for Marvel, I think.
I think it was I would say their most unique movie.
It was really up there. I had that same thought. And it was really cool because in some ways it was even more sort of out there than I was expecting. And then in some facets it actually did tie in more than I was thinking, right?
Yeah, it surprised on both ends. In a good way, I'd say.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Yeah, I don't know. I will say, like, it... I think, this isn't like a facet of the Marvel Universe that I'm super knowledgeable, but I think it has probably created a lot of sort of unique stuff that isn't directly taken from the comics. I do think there is some stuff that they may have taken from sort of the Iron Fist thing, which I kind of want to talk about at some point. But, like, yeah, I don't know. It was just real good.
Yeah.
I think they made the movie that they set out to make, and that they clearly kind of embraced the sort of, like, you know... I don't know.
Mythology of it?
Yeah,
in a
like
sense?
like the sort of Asian mythology of it, and, like, the... Obviously, like, the fighting was very deliberately... I mean, obviously in a lot of the Marvel movies, the fighting comes down to, like, you know...
Martial arts in a sense.
Yeah, exactly. A sort of, like, Hollywoodized, you know, over-the-top, very visually interesting sort of martial arts of some kind. But obviously in this one in particular, that's all it was, right?
Yeah, that's like the focus of it. That's Shang-Chi's...
Yeah.
His whole thing.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
I'm
mixing myself up.
Good. And so, yeah, it worked really well in this, and it was very well done, the action stuff. And it was kind of flashy in that sort of like, whatever, sort of like Bruce Lee sort of way that you expect, where, so it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sure in real life that's not the practical way that you
Would fight somebody.
people, but yeah, it looks really cool on screen, and it's super well done. I don't know.
It's very fitting for it to be Bruce Lee-esque because that's who Shang-Chi is based on.
Yeah.
And then I believe I heard that in the 80s they wanted to make a show using Bruce Lee's son. I think his name's Bobby Lee? Or what? I mean,
Brandon Lee.
Brandon Lee, yes. I think it was something Lee because, last names.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, I was probably echo the same points. It went in directions that I did not expect. It was a lot more stakes, I think. Like, a lot more consequences in this movie than I really expected.
Yeah.
They went in different directions than I thought, because I had, Zach and I talk during movies, sadly. We can't.
Just a little.
Just a little.
There was no one in our row.
Yeah.
So
we don't scream at each other. We just kind of whisper to each other our little ideas. And I was like, oh, yeah, their mom is... Well, actually, hold on. Spoilers.
Well, yeah, spoilers.
For
every week.
Every week. I almost said a spoiler. So, now spoilers are the way. His mom dies, because it's a Disney movie. So his mom has to be dead, because no mom can survive a Disney movie. And I was like, oh, she's just going to be alive in her village. She just kind of ran away.
Which would not be an uncommon sort of thing to happen in this type of movie, necessarily, right?
Because his dad was evil, and I don't know, it wasn't interesting that his mom was actually dead, like truly dead, and that they made his father much more sympathetic than I expected him to be.
Yeah,
because he wasn't nearly as malicious. Like, he's not really. He's kind of he's an antagonist, but he's not a villain, I think.
No, as it turns out, right? Like, he himself is being sort of manipulated. So, like, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he kind of sort of changed his ways because of their mother and all, and his family and all. At the same time, I mean, he still did do 1,000 years
of conquest and murder,
millennia of conquest and destruction. So, but yeah, I kind of agree with that point. They didn't go out of their way to absolutely vilify him, did they?
No, not really.
Because there was that whole family element to it, and this is like literally a family, right? Like a quote unquote family, right? Comes up in a lot of
Marvel
this
stuff.
kind of stuff. But yeah, this was, I mean, not that it's any more or less valid or, but yeah,
like literal
this movie,
blood
they were
family.
literally blood family, which is not a thing that's used as much because there's not as many families that are like all superheroes.
Yeah, except for the Fantastic Four, but they haven't come out. They haven't come around yet.
Yeah, exactly.
And usually that whole thing is just it's a family you find. That's usually one of the big selling points.
But in this one, it literally was their biological family and all. And I don't think they wanted to fully vilify him. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't even hate him. Yeah, it's like a villain. I enjoyed him as a villain, but I mean, I didn't
hate him as a
dislike
person.
His character,
yeah.
Or his person. Yeah, I feel like it is mostly understandable. Like I will say, like after. Because I will say, I think you weren't, again, because that's a recurring sort of like, and not an uncommon kind of trope for this type of thing to do, is like the whole like, oh, my mom's dead, but really she was in hiding. Like, yeah, I kind of half expected, even once we got to the point where, like, once they rolled up to the ancient village there, I kind of half expected she was still going to be there too, to be totally honest.
Just hanging out being like, I'm going to fight your dad and like finish this.
Because that is the type of, like, I don't know, like that's kind of what happens in like Ant-Man, that's what happens in like Aquaman, right? The mom's dead and she's really not. But so I think the movie probably actually kind of wants you to think, like, have a sense of sort of
the mom will come back.
Yeah, like I think that it's intentionally left a little ambiguous until, of course, the moment it's not.
It's like, yo, no, yeah, she definitely passed away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with this though.
That's all right.
But yeah, I think that's also it's like I think the movie did intentionally sort of make it ambiguous, but the scene when it gets to it and it shows it, that's pretty brutal. I mean, it happens off screen, but like you obviously get the gist of it. Like 30 dudes just rolled up and beat her to death, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean she got most of them.
And that's where I was going with this. Is like because of that, when we see then the Mandarin, or I don't even know what to call. We're just gonna call him the Mandarin.
Yeah.
In the movie, he says he's not that or whatever, but
he's like what is he? I think it's Wang Wu.
Wang Wu or something. Fuck, I don't know. Like, yeah, his name.
His true name is that because he doesn't like being called the Mandarin because it's like, well, he called me a chicken dish like after an orange. Like it's so silly. He's made me look silly.
It's kind of like we talked about last week where we brought up the Marvel character Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We never really addressed that. Like, yeah, the Mandarin is like 50% as silly as that as a name, realistically, right?
Yeah,
just calling a guy the Mandarin. It does very much. That also similarly reeks of like a 60s American white dude trying to create an Asian character.
Yeah,
we'll call him the Mandarin. We'll call him General Shao.
Yeah. We'll call him Beef and Broccoli. Colonel Beef and Broccoli, that's what we'll call him. They're like, sir, I don't think we can call someone that.
He's
pork fried rice.
Czar teriyaki. But but I think for the purposes we're just gonna call him the Mandarin. But the scene then where he goes to the whatever, like that bar club thing.
Well, then Yakuza guys and beats him to death.
Beats the shit out of the guy
in front of his son,
beat his wife with the 10 rings. I was actually just like, yeah, get him.
Yeah, I mean, it was very justified.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree. I think they made a pretty simple. I did like the rings. They were like we said last week, which is to say, they aren't like the ones in the comics where they each have like a different sort of beam that they shoot out, be that like fire, ice, or whatever. And I think this is a change for the better. One, because they obviously like they had to adapt him, right? Because they were adapting the character of the Mandarin for this movie, right?
Yeah.
From what he traditionally is in the comics. And I think because they wanted to time to Shang-Chi and do the martial arts and stuff, they had to adapt his rings because obviously just the finger rings that, again, just shoot like beams in the comics. That doesn't really
translate too well into film.
Yeah, to fighting, to hand-to-hand like martial arts. So, yeah, I think it was very interesting, like really cool looking visuals to have them like, he could shoot him off and he could like whip him around and stuff.
I think he's going to propel himself.
Yeah, really cool.
I thought it had a lot of varied uses.
Mm-hmm. And like, they did shoot like beams and stuff when he wanted them to, but that definitely wasn't the extent of them.
He made a force field in the beginning to protect himself for all those arrows.
Yeah, that was cool. Or I think he was like whipping him around in front of him in like an arc is what that was.
Oh,
just
yeah.
So fast that it kind of created. But yeah, like a shield type thing. And yeah, like he like kind of jumps with him, like does like a boost jump.
What I thought was interesting, an old detail they had, is when he does the boost up to the door where all those monsters are, he counter boosts himself. Like he boosts at the ground before he lands to like stop himself with the momentum, which I thought was just like they didn't have to put that in. I thought it was a nice touch to be like a touch realistic when he's in a magical dimension village with mythical creatures. I thought that was a little weird. That just like they're also in a different dimension technically.
Yeah, that part I didn't. I think what that meant more so was that. I mean, I guess I could be wrong, but the way I interpret it is that village sort of is within our world, but it sort of connects to different dimensions,
like a gateway.
Yeah, more so that like, and it's like bleeding in a little, but I don't think it's really meant to be a different
plane of existence.
Yeah,
itself.
That would be weird. I don't know.
Because they're all still humans.
It's just a physical place they can go to. They don't have to go through like a port. I mean, they have to go through that maze, but they just drive there. Like
no, they go on that waterfall and makes a portal.
Oh, they do. Oh, you're right. Well, maybe it is that shit. I don't
just
know.
like a weird portal thing. But I just thought.
But she says the aunt when she's explaining it, she's like, the shit. Is it Taulo?
Yeah, I think it's Taulo.
She says like it's not contained just to the shores of this village. It extends beyond, and that's what I was going to say before about the what felt to me like sort of like an Iron Fist connection is that it reminded me of, because she says there's like several different cities, right, on all kinds of worlds or something to that effect, and it reminded me of the 7 cities of heaven from Iron Fist.
I'm not familiar.
You're familiar? Oh, okay. So in Iron Fist, right? Iron Fist is the immortal protector of Kunlun. That's the city that he's from.
Right. Yeah.
And it's basically like, this is a more recent sort of piece of the lore to that, but it's that different dimensions all have their own city
to protect them.
Yeah, and with their own immortal protector. And once every whatever, they all get together and have like a tournament.
I have heard of this tournament.
Mm-hmm. So Iron Fist, he has a tournament against these other guys who also have similar like powers and shit. So it's just the idea that they're all there. I want to say it's 7. I could be wrong. I'll Google it right now while we're sitting here. But it's like that they're the 7 capital cities of heaven.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of like a fun thing. So it kind of reminded me of that. And I said last week, I thought maybe they would carry over some Iron Fist stuff for the purpose of this. Again, I don't know if any of this stuff is like from Marvel Comics or Shang-Chi at all. I really am not familiar. But the dragon kind of paid off what I said, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not directly, because in Iron Fist, he kills the dragon to get its power, which that didn't happen here. But they do derive their power from the dragon. That's the thing, like their magic. Yeah, again, like the capital city thing. I don't know. I thought it was... I think that's still maybe where they're going with it. And especially the way this, like, the kind of wraps up and stuff. They definitely are bringing Shang-Chi into the fold. So
they bring him in the fold immediately, which I was happy about. I was a little... one thing I did find strange is that I was disappointed that they kind of just... I feel like they just shoehorned Abomination in just to show that he exists.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I was somewhat disappointed by the Abomination thing. We talked about a couple weeks ago, like, how I can be kind of iffy on trailers sometimes because I think they give too much away. And I've tried to, like, not be... Again, because we also talked about, like, how some people take that way, way too far about how, like, anything can be a spoiler. And so I try to be balanced about it. But seeing the movie definitely solidified my opinion on that, in that they definitely did show too much by showing the Abomination Wong stuff in the trailer, because it's only like
a minute, maybe
less than. So like it's truly the majority of it is in that trailer.
Yeah, I think it's really just for the trailer. Like that's like a shot they made to put in the trailer. Full stop. Did you find what you're looking for?
I have not been able to find it. I think it's Tao Lu. It's that's at least how it's spelled, I guess. I can't find it though. I think really it may be just invented for the movie here. But yeah, I gotta agree. And he was also weird. It was like, it seems like him and Wong were like almost buddies.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, work on your punches, Abomination.
Which is a weird dynamic because Abomination is...
He's a Hulk villain.
Crazy. Yeah. But he's also, the MCU version, I mean, all of them really, but like, he's just insane. Like, he's lost his mind. He's not really conscious anymore. Or not, but he's like not human. Like, so I don't know about that. I thought that was kind of strange.
Kind of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. I did think it was funny because I wondered how they were going to explain his appearance there, like if they were just not going to do anything. But at the end of their little sequence, right, it seemed to me at least like it was showing Wong returning him to his prison.
That's true. Yeah.
So they just like open a portal to his little prison, take him out for him to fight, but then he just goes back at the end, which that's kind of fun. So he is still contained in like some shield facility.
Yeah, he's not running around. I think it's fun. They're like, well, we'll let you out for a little bit, but you got to go back
Yeah.
You can let you fight, but you got to go back every time. Which I think is, you can give him some recreation. Throw the man a bone a little bit.
Mm-hmm. What else? I guess you got any more like general kind of thoughts?
Thought the ending battle was cool. Well, I think you know what I think. I think I'll tie my thoughts into like a larger topic that maybe you want to touch on, but I was thinking up is that I feel like this movie kind of sticks it to those goddamn holier than thou Marvel haters who are like, man, why does every movie have to end with a big CGI laser beam fight? Now, to be fair, that happens a lot. I won't say it doesn't, but this one kind of doesn't because it ends with a big kaiju fight, with a big dragon fights a big horrible monster from beyond reality. And and that was super cool. Like, that was really, like, fresh and interesting. And I was like, and I really like dragons, because I talked about last week how much I liked it. And I was like, this is just dope. I feel like Shang-Chi could have a little bit more, because at one point he just holds on to the dragon as the dragon's soul is getting eaten. I'm like, dude, you need the dragon. You gotta save its life. I mean, he does, so it's not like that big of a deal. And there are a lot of consequences in this movie. A lot of people just die. His dad dies, people in the village die, his mother dies, and he has to live with that. So I feel like it was a... I want to say breath of fresh air because I would have liked it if it wasn't that way because I think it would have been good regardless. Not regardless, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had this sort of thought. This movie kind of made me formulate a thought that I don't know if I've really kind of vocalized before, but like I was thinking like, yeah, this movie had so much going on that isn't normal for a Marvel movie. And again, I will say, like I said up top there was stuff that was like actually even more of a departure than Marvel stuff that I expected, right? Like the big monsters fighting at the end, essentially the kaiju battle, and like really the whole village was kind of more out there than I would have thought, like all the different creatures they had there and stuff. And again, all the overall majority of the fight scenes and stuff are just like this really cool, like,
intricately detailed, choreographed kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of martial arts, which is cool and all. And none of that really screams like the quote-unquote Marvel movies, right?
Right.
Like the people who, complain about them all being the same and that they're all like just kind of basic and
contrived and all that bullshit.
And like the thought I had going out of this movie, I was like, here's the thing. If you say this movie sucks, like I feel like if you're just like, this is just another Marvel movie and so it's bad, like I feel like at that point you really are just hating on it because it's a Marvel movie. Not that all Marvel... I don't think anyone could reasonably be like, all of the Marvel movies are bad and so is this one kind of thing. Like that just does... I mean, I don't know. Obviously you have your own opinions or whatever the hell. But like, the thing about this one to me is that it's just a good action movie. And really that applies to a lot of the Marvel movies. Is like... They are not... If you want to say that, like, people take them too seriously and people enjoy them too much or whatever, and there's, like, the fanboys who really go over the top, that's fine, I guess. Fair enough. Like, you're entitled to that opinion. And if you think most people should just take them more casually, that is, I think, maybe valid.
To an extent,
to say that they're actually just bad, I don't think that's right. Like, they're just good action movies. If you have a problem with what the fans themselves kind of do, like as in like on the outside of it, right, how that affects it, that's one thing. But the movies themselves they never really claim to be much more than they're trying to be, right?
Yeah, no one ever claimed that they were like high art.
I feel like the movies themselves know that they're just kind of action movies, that they're blockbuster, if you want to call whatever fucking
buzzword you want to throw in there.
They're popcorny, they're roller coasters, whatever. But I think the thing is that, again, that's what the movies understand that about themselves, right? As in, like, the creators, the filmmakers making these, that is their intention most of the time. They're not intending to make
the next Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
They're making a movie where a guy does kung fu, or martial arts, I should say, and then rides a dragon with magical rings and fights his dad. Like, they're not trying to be some deep artsy thing.
Right. So if you say you hate these, and you hate this one too because it's a Marvel movie, and you think they're all the same, that's fine, I guess. Again, you're entitled to your opinion, but I feel like at that point you're just going the opposite. Instead of being one of those people who says who just absolutely like adores all the Marvel stuff and thinks they're like
God's gift to man.
Yeah. You're kind of just doing the opposite. You're just hating them because they're popular, really, and because they're the Marvel movies. Where it's like, again, they just have their own merits. I don't know. Like, this movie is, it's something we haven't talked about, but it's like, between the choreography and other stuff, it is very visually interesting and, like, well done.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot they always have, in every fight, it's a new location that's different from the last place they fought.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's never the same place twice. Or, like, there's a different way the lighting, like, when he fights that, I think Deathmaster, whatever that weird painted face guy's name is.
Mm-hmm.
The one, like, when he fights him, they're, like, in shadow behind, like, the lights of a building and, like, a helicopter. So there's interest, and then, like, the camera pans around them. There's, like, overhead shots. They do a lot of visually interesting things and, like, unique environments to keep you entertained. It's not just, like, a hallway and he's fighting a guy one after another after another. Sometimes he fights two guys at once in, like, an area, or, like, they're on the bus, so he has to use the bus to his advantage and save civilians. Like, they add enough layers that if you, like, go in, like, neutral and, like, allowing anything to happen, you're gonna, like, be interested. But if you go in going, oh, another Marvel schlock fest. Hey, first off, why are you going to see it? At this point, if you don't like Marvel movies, don't go see it.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to.
And if you go watch it, you can't hate it that much. Or you're just kind of an asshole, I gotta be honest.
Well, yeah, because at that point, again, if you want, and I suppose these people do exist, but if you want to say, like, yeah, that everything really should be trying to be this deep, like,
character study on the human condition,
that's fine. But I think most people who are half reasonable, right, and aren't just fucking caricatures of humans, recognize that even if you are into high cinema and you can really appreciate, like, deep, character studies and stuff like that, and indie cinema and all that shit, that doesn't mean that anything that is less than that is bad. And if you are interested at all in watching an action movie that is just well done, that's what these are, and that's what this one in particular is. I think this is just a really solid action movie. I think, again, it has some tie-ins, but it is loose enough from the MCU that this is one of the first ones in a long time where having virtually no knowledge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe would not affect your enjoyment of it hardly at all.
Yeah.
It stands alone for the most part. Even the kind of, like, connected characters and, like, sort of
ideas,
characters who are brought over and are sort of recurring from other stuff are well enough explained within the context of this that you need pretty much no prior knowledge. Obviously, people who will appreciate the tie-ins and stuff, but as a film, it just stands alone as just a really good action movie. I don't know, if you're into, sort of martial arts, fighting, action movies, I don't know, I feel like this is just a good example of that. It's done well. I don't know. I think that a lot of the jokes were hitting for us. We had a couple good laughs.
Oh yeah,
it's just a good movie. I don't know. That's like I was very much impressed. Again, maybe that's my own fault because, like, I wasn't super excited to begin with.
Yeah, I remember classically before we even started the show when Shang-Chi was announced, we lamented what's Shang-Chi? We don't know anything about this guy. Are we even gonna care? And they were like, yeah, but not by saying that we kind of fulfill our own prophecy, being like, well, since we have such low expectations and we don't think we're gonna like it, it's probably gonna be good and, like, just be the opposite of what you think. And it was. And I never thought it was going to be bad, I will say, but I enjoyed it more. It did things differently than I thought they would, and it was very good overall.
So I just a couple pages up here just for our reference. So Ta Lo has appeared in the comics, but it's only ever appeared a handful of times. On the Marvel database page here, under appearances of Ta Lo, it has just 4 entries. It's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, like the movie.
The film.
And then it's Thor Volume 1, 301, Thor and Hercules. Oh, I think maybe it's just that. The only issue it may have appeared in is Thor Volume 1, 301. And then after that, it appears in the Official Handbook of the Marvel Universe, Volume 2, 14, and Thor and Hercules, Encyclopedia Mythologica, Volume 11. Which both just sound like encyclopedias, right? So
yeah, so it just showed up once.
It may only have ever appeared once. So and I think this is a thing that the Marvel movies are actually good about doing, I think. And I don't know, I guess maybe kind of Star Wars too. I don't know. In these interconnected, like, massive sort of, like, multimedia things that all these franchises that exist nowadays, I think they do a good job of, because there's just so much more effort put into making stuff connected and stuff nowadays, I think they do a good job of, when there is an opportunity to reuse concept or a place or a character or anything, I feel like they often just do. And that's just a little more fun for the fans. Like, obviously there's not, if that article or if that page I just brought up is correct, Ta Lo is not a massively significant comic location, but it's still cool that when they were like, well, we want an ancient city for the or an ancient village for this this movie.
We'll just use one that already exists.
May as well use one. I always like stuff like that. Like I said, they do it in Star Wars a lot too, where it's like, well, we need a character that does this, this, and this. And they'll often be like, well, there's a character kind of like that already exists. So we may as well just use him and just kind of tie in the universe. And I don't know, maybe that sort of does the opposite of what some people like, because I feel like stuff like that can lead to that whole, like, small universe
everyone,
syndrome. But
yeah.
I don't know. I usually enjoy it for the most part. And again, I think that applied to a couple of the henchman type characters too, like that guy, whatever he's called.
Deathmaster or whatever.
I feel like that's a case of he's probably some comic character who is more well known, because in the context of this movie, he didn't do a whole ton. I feel like he was kind of hyped up for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, didn't even say his name. Like, no one even says who he is. He just kind of appears. And same with the guy with the arm blade. He kind of just appears. So I think he's kind of just 4.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, I brought up the page for the capital cities of heaven as well. So there is 7 of them, and they come together every 88 years. They merge into the one, creating the heart of heaven.
Why heaven? Do you mean God?
I don't know. Oh, this says that they are spread across the world. So I thought they were different kind of dimensional things. Maybe it's just across Earth itself, and they just get merged. So, yeah, just fun. So, I think that's probably most of our general kind of thoughts, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Again, I agree. Like you mentioned earlier, I was kind of surprised by the like eldritch horrors that came in at the end.
Yeah, they just released.
I wonder if that is based off of
a comic
thing
concept.
or an actual mythology thing. I don't know, but that was cool. That's really what they look like. Like truly, they looked like something out of Lovecraft.
Yeah, they had like weird tentacles, and you couldn't kill them with regular weapons. Yeah. They like and they stole your soul, and they ate it.
That's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, his dead soul. Soul gets eaten
because in a sci-fi fantasy kind of universe where if we can just take as a matter of course that souls exist, the fact that your soul can actually get taken
just don't very easily from you.
Pretty dark.
You've got nothing you can do about it if you meet the right
they
creatures.
did, yeah. So I think we should pivot into then talk about sort of the like further implications and stuff of this, right?
Let's talk about
let's start with our predictions. Did we get them right or wrong?
We did.
Prediction corner.
I think we were both right on our major predictions.
I think everything that we mentioned, really.
Yeah, we're betting 1,000 on that one.
That's right. And I think it's mostly, as with the Black Widow, I think it's a case of we make pretty safe bets.
Yeah, we make the safest bets we could.
In stuff that's almost pretty much exactly revealed by the marketing material of the film.
We're like he's gonna wear a red suit and have 10 rings on his arms.
We got a victory here, I think. So my biggest thing was that I was hoping that
Ben
Kingsley's Trevor Slattery character from Iron Man 3 would appear or at the very least be referenced. And I kind of walked it back at the end of towards the end of this part of last episode, where I was like, maybe they'll just make a brief mention. And I thought, when they were eating dinner there, and the Mandarin was talking about it, and he was like, you guys remember that terrorist guy from a couple of years back who tried to pretend to be me, and he took my 10 rings, and he thought he was me, and he gave him a dumb name and all. I thought that was all we were going to get from him, right?
Right.
And for that matter, I was mostly happy with it. I was like, I can talk about this on the podcast. He mentioned him. All right, that's good enough for me. I think that
a win
counts.
is a win.
A win's a win. And then he was just there.
We just got him.
And he was in like the entire back half of the movie. He got like many minutes of screen time. They just got Ben Kingsley, and they're like, just come do this movie.
And that's because I would have thought that I didn't hear anything about that, of him being in it. So the fact that it was like hidden from me, I was like, oh, that's a good surprise. And you know what would have been great? If I didn't know Loki was going to be in Doctor Strange, and I got that same dopamine hit.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, Loki's in here too. But now,
yeah, I really enjoyed that. I was freaking out of the theater.
I was like, oh, that's the guy.
I was fist pumping the air.
Cheering.
In victory.
Stood up and cheered.
Yeah, I stood up and cheered. I screamed at the top of my lungs.
You whistled like the 2-fingered whistle, like a.
But yeah, I thought that was dope. Well, because and there's like and you're like, who's in this cell with them? Making a lot of, and then I was like, oh my god, wait a minute, oh my goodness, and it was him. I did it, boys.
I think that weird like faceless monster.
Yeah, he had Norris. I
think it was Morris.
The weird. Yeah.
He's like, you can see him too. Oh, thank God.
That was funny. He was giving a lot of laughs. I thought he was funny. He's funny in Iron Man 3 though, and in like All Hail the King and stuff. So
which I was forced to watch against my very will.
Yeah, if you guys remember last week, anyone who listened to last week in this, I talked about it and I said that Jack and anyone else who was interested should watch it before
the movie,
seeing Shang-Chi, in case he did show up. I thought that'd be fun. And Jack just didn't. He said on the show he wasn't gonna. I thought he was kidding, but he was just serious.
Of course. I've never made a joke in my life.
So after we saw the movie, I made him watch it.
Against my very will.
He enjoyed it because it's good.
I was like Clockwork Orange. He like forced my eyelids
See,
open.
Wouldn't that been better though if you had seen it before the movie, and then you saw Ben Kingsley roll up? You're like, oh my goodness.
Not really, because again, you explained it to me.
Suck.
You explained me the whole plot.
You're the worst,
where am I?
Man. You're the worst. You should have just deleted that from your memory.
Oh right. As I'm editing the podcast,
Yeah.
I'll reach in the old brain box and delete that.
You suck, man. But yeah, that was a good one. Absolutely solid. I mean, what was our other predictions?
My prediction was about Wong. Kind of. My prediction was half right about Wong. So if you remember last week, the 2 people who listened statistically, or maybe 2 more than 2, but whoever listened to last week, and if you're listening this week, you'll know. I thought Wong was going to interact with Shang-Chi. God, I can't get it straight. Shang-Chi in the beginning in the fighting arena, and then at the end as like the end of the movie or an end credit scene. So he doesn't interact with them. Like they just do like that like we mentioned before. That fight was purely for the trailer, which is a bit. I don't like that very much, but it really didn't hamper the movie too much for me. And then at the end, he just like shows up and is like, "We got to go right now." And the movie ends. And then the end credit scene, which was had a crazy amount of implications, way more than we even saw. Like it took us a minute to get them all, which I think we should probably just get into then.
Well, let's finish it.
So my prediction was that he'd talk to them and bring Shang-Chi into the fold. Surprisingly, I didn't expect him to bring in his friend, Katie. Same thing.
Are they a couple by the end of it?
I don't think they might be.
I feel like I couldn't tell what they were going for that. I couldn't tell if they were going for like, because they do obviously the whole like we're just friends, but I couldn't tell if this is one of those things where, it's just friends, then they do end up at the end. Or if it was, I don't know, which would be sort of unique, because I feel like this type of stuff doesn't get done very often in movies and stuff. Maybe they really were just friends, and
platonic
that's just how
friends.
it's going to stay.
Yeah.
Platonic. I don't know. We didn't really...
She kind of leans on him at the end, and they kind of like hold hands when they're talking about the story. They don't really address it, so maybe...
Basically, what I'm saying is they never kiss on screen, so how am I to know? Me, a simple-brained viewer, to know if they are a couple
What am I meant to have context clues?
Gee, it's really tough on me. My goodness. I am a Marvel fan, after all, so you cannot expect very much out of me.
I've just finished getting up to Cat in the Hat and Sam and...
come on.
Green Eggs and Ham. I almost said Sam I Am.
So I cannot do all the heavy lifting myself here, Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige, you gotta have them make out passionately for 10 to 15 minutes in this film.
And then when they're done, say that was very much done in a context of a serious romantic relationship, which we are currently engaged in now.
Not a laugh in which you make out with your close friend of opposite, same sex, just your close friend who you've known for many years.
This was not just a scenario of tucking in the homies and kissing them goodnight.
reading them Frog and Toad as they...
So
anyway, back from our insanity.
They brought her in. I don't know what she's gonna do. I don't know how she's gonna be of any help.
Maybe they're gonna give her powers. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. But I mean, she was pretty good with that bow and arrow, which is sweet. But I mean, she's no Hawkeye.
They already got a bowman. They're gonna have 2 bowmen.
Two. How many bowmen can they have?
And one bowman just learned how to be a bowman.
People have been making fun of Hawkeye since he showed up in these movies. If they brought in, in this new phase, this new kind of wave of Marvel stuff, if they brought in, an additional bowman, we just got a bunch of bow. The bigger this universe gets and the more powers are introduced, the less believable having an Arrowman on the team becomes.
Wait, isn't the Young Avengers Hawkeye? Isn't her name Kate Bishop?
Yes.
So wouldn't it just be Kate and
oh my
Katie?
God, you can't have Kate and Katie both be bowmen, can you? Jesus. So yeah, that is that is what you said. So yeah, that tied in pretty good.
Pretty well. Superman does good. We did well in our predictions.
The other one was that he was.
If I ever catch you using good and well incorrectly, I swear to God, I will find you. And I give you a stern fucking talking to.
He will. He does it to me. He uses that little line every time too. The Superman does good. You meant well.
No, you do well.
Yeah, whatever. So
can't get the line right. Jesus.
The other
Christ.
thing was that we kind of predicted that I don't know if we said this in the prediction, but we definitely mentioned he would get the 10 rings. He got the 10 rings by the way.
Yeah,
He's got the 10 rings.
We did it.
I kind of thought for a second there, he gets them, but then he uses them to destroy the monster. And I thought maybe in the process of using them to beat up the monster, he would destroy them because he didn't really want them, and it was kind of part of his growth that like the rings, are not what was important, but he still got him at the end, which I
think that ties into a different part because I feel like the arc could have gone either way, where he is like, well, no, I'm different, I'm my own person, but also I feel that when he gets on the dragon, they get the flashback of his mom, and she's like, no, you're like me and your dad, like you're both of us. So he uses his mom's martial art and his dad's rings to kind of combine the two in a harmony. So I think that's probably what they were going for.
Well, was there anything else we predicted?
That was really the main thing.
Yeah, well, and that he would have more like magic, which that is definitely the case. It was all kind of magic.
He didn't do as much elemental stuff. I did say he was going to,
but he did learn that by the end, and that was what his mother was about. Like we mentioned, that being one with the. Although then again, I guess you can only access that when you're there. So, I guess he can't use that anymore. But he's got the 10 rings.
They'll probably let him use it,
or that too. Yeah. But yeah, I do think that's cool, and that's a good choice, especially because we that was the other thing. Like we predicted, it's in some way or another he was going to get drawn in the fold, because that's what happens at the end of every Marvel solo movie in the post credits.
Yeah,
and that happened, and
it was really good. There's a lot more than you would think.
I was just going to say, for the purpose of doing that, it is good that he had the 10 rings, because he's definitely going to, again, not that he wouldn't have done fine, I'm sure, but obviously having the 10 rings brings him to a whole nother level, like power-wise.
Then it would be.
Not that everything's about power rankings, but
it's not all but a bunch of power scaling, but yeah.
It is cool. And that will certainly be, I think, more visually interesting for him to be doing in any kind of team-up movies and future endeavors is to be utilizing the 10 rings like that instead of just punches and kicks and stuff. So I really liked it. I liked it as changed color. I liked that he just got him. Again, the 10 rings, really solid in this movie.
I agree.
So
let's get into the first end credits trailer.
So yeah,
both of them were good, but the first one was probably the most more connected to the universe. The second one probably sets up like more of his storyline.
They both are going to set up. I will say, real quick, kind of time. The thing about the Wong one, I think because that is so significant, they clearly needed him in to do the obviously the post credit scene there, or the mid credit scene, whatever. It makes me wonder if they just had him in there to do this, and they weren't just like, you want to film a fight real quick? You want to spend like half a day doing a fight? And maybe that's why the Abomination fight's in there, but also is so absolutely brief. Because if you think about what he was actually doing, there wasn't much choreography to speak of for him.
Yeah, it was a CGI mass.
Yeah. Like, Abomination punches him, and then he's like, hey, I don't like that. And then the way he wins is that he opens a portal.
And redirects the punch.
If you think about what Benedict Wong had to do there on set that day, it would have been relatively...
His name's Benedict?
Limited. Yeah.
So the leads of Doctor Strange are Benedict Cumberbatch and Benedict Wong.
And the guy who plays Wong's last name is Wong, yeah.
Huh.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's stupid. That isn't stupid, but like, what the...
It's pretty funny.
It is funny.
It's a bizarre coincidence.
Yeah. What are the odds?
But yeah, so...
You had an aneurysm there? What the fuck happened?
It makes me wonder if that's literally not why that thing is so brief. Is if they're like, well, we need him in for this post-credit scene, but also...
It'll make more sense if he already sees him and is kind of there.
Wong getting a lot of play.
I like it. He's funny. I really he's like real, like, he's powerful and he like gives shit to everybody.
What was the other thing he was in? He was in some other post-credit scene or something. I don't know.
I don't remember. But anyway, so he shows up at the end of the movie proper, and is like, Shang-Chi? Whatever. SC? Where's my man? Where's Chi? And he's like, oh, I'm here. He goes, you gotta come with me, like, right now. Like, and then, like, it's funny because they're at, like, a dinner with, like, friends, and he walks up and just moves them, and is like, come on, we gotta go. And they leave, and he goes, oh, I'll see you guys later, and then go. And then the post-credit scene, he's on,
mid-credit. I guess it's the mid-credit
scene, yes. He's in, like, a conference call with Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel. Now, what we didn't notice is that he's not Professor Hulk. He's in his Bruce Banner form. Like, he's just a person. Which clearly is intentional. No, if they can't, it's not like oh, we missed it in post production. Yeah. Like they clearly just had Mark Ruffalo be Bruce Banner, which has a lot of implications, meaning that he can transform in and out of his Hulk form, which wasn't said at all in Endgame. Which I feel like
it makes me wonder if that's not if he can just do it at will and he still retains the smart Hulk thing, because the way he explains it in Endgame is like pretty solid. Of like the way he explains it is that like I fixed it. Like, I got so into it myself. Hulk we're good now. Like, I have it totally under control. Do everything I want. So, Could be that. I guess the other possibility, I should say, is that he has kind of reverted in some way, and he does not longer have as good of a handle, and it once again is more of like a I get angry and I go into a thing.
I don't think it is. I think because
Probably
he's
not.
in She-Hulk...
I mean, it'd be weird to do like a regression of that, but yeah.
I think because he's in She-Hulk, he's going to teach her how to do that. Because She-Hulk's big thing is that she's always in her Hulk form, and she's like, I'm just going to be like this because I can
she
control
also
it.
can sort of control it, but yeah, she chooses to be in Hulk form.
I think she asked Doctor Strange to make it permanent.
Oh, does she?
At one point. She's like, oh, maybe she will. Something like that.
She-Hulk's got a whole bunch of stuff.
She's like, she breaks the fourth wall a lot in her early comics.
There was a period where she did a lot of that.
Like Deadpool kind of stuff. She was on Fantastic Four for a while when the Thing wasn't.
So that's cool. And I think, the cynical way of that, to look at that, is just that, like, they probably, every time they want Bruce Banner to be in a thing and not Hulk, they probably don't want to have to CGI Hulk, right?
Yeah.
Because, for this purpose, Hulk was not the important part, even though they are one and the same now or whatever, or they were in Endgame, right? Hulk is not relevant to that scene. What you want is Bruce Banner, the smart guy. And so it would have been dumb if for that mid-credit scene they had to CGI massive Professor Hulk.
Plus they'd have to rescale because he's so much bigger than everybody else.
It would have been weird. So I think probably just for sake, ease of use moving forward here for everyone involved, they're just going to let him be Mark Ruffalo. But I'm glad to see him. I don't know. I know he was like, we mentioned he was rumored to be in She-Hulk. But it's good to see that he's sticking around because obviously a lot of we should say obviously Jeremy Renner is still around and Chris Hemsworth and all.
So like half of the originals.
It's like half, about half. But it's good. It's still just good to see
sticking around.
That he's sticking around.
And also in that scene was Captain Marvel.
Yeah, if you had made me guess, if you had made me guess who was going to be in the post credits scene, even as sort of like a far kind of fetch, right? Like, hey man, if there's going to be 3 sort of more main Marvel Universe kind of tie-in characters that appear in this post-credit scene. You got to guess who. I don't know if Hulk and Captain Marvel would have made my top, 10.
No, I really thought it was Doctor Strange at first.
Yeah.
It's Wong. But what's interesting is that the 3 of them are there for very specific reasons because each of them they're all trying to figure out what the rings are.
Yeah. And
each of them obviously is a different, sector of somewhere because Captain Marvel is is it alien technology? Mm-hmm. Bruce Banner is, is it Earth technology? Did someone make it on Earth? And Wong is is this a magical artifact?
Yeah.
And all 3 of them go, we don't know what the hell it is. Mm-hmm. And it's sending some kind of beacon out, which we think might be Secret Wars, might be calling the Beyonders. It could.
So now you said that. I don't think I'm very familiar with the Beyonders. You mentioned that. What is?
The Beyonders is, at one point, most recently, they are a race of beings who exist outside the multiverse. And they come into the Marvel Universe and they kill all the gods. And then Doom absorbs their power and fights Black Panther, who is wielding the Infinity Gauntlet. And that's during the most recent Secret Wars when the Illuminati is destroying worlds.
The Beyonders, of course. The Beyonders singular is the guy who does the first Secret Wars.
The Beyond, yes, and does the second Secret War. There's 2 of them. I've heard the second one.
See, I feel like it's going to be something a little more grounded than that, as in, just an alien race, not a...
Yeah. No, I think so, too. I think it's going to be, a dormant one that nobody's heard of for a while or something. Not they're outside of time and space or something.
It does beg the question why... Wong says that when the first time Shang-Chi uses them, it's started that beacon, not the 1,000 years prior to when the Mandarin is using them.
It must be the magic.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that is his combination. Or maybe the rings recognized that a new person was using them and that was the thing. But yeah, obviously him meeting up with Wong in particular, we said last week, I would not be surprised now if he did make his way into one of the upcoming sort of things.
Oh yeah.
Even as just a minor appearance. I did like how Wong literally gave him the speech that was just essentially amounted to, yep, you're in the MCU now. You're going to be in all the movies. Your life's going to change, the path of it. You got all kind of stuff going on. So
you're going to make so much money.
Strap in.
I mean, Bruce Banner is welcome to the circus. You're stuck.
Yeah, that was fun. We did that. That also got a check out of us when Captain Marvel was I got to go because she's got to deal with something, which I wonder if that's meant to be anything or if just sort of...
Just she's always dealing with something.
Yeah,
a thing. And she's like, oh, Bruce has my number. He's like, I don't.
He's like, I don't have her phone.
She always does
I don't know
this.
Why she said that.
She always does this to me.
That's good.
That thing was very funny. And then the second end credit scene was Shang-Chi's sister, taking over the 10 rings and running it her own way.
But kind of seemed to mostly keep it intact. Because in that the final scene of the movie there, he says that she's there to dismantle it, essentially. And then, obviously, when it shows it, she's mostly just
training new people.
Yeah, she seems to just kind of be keeping it running. So,
and she's updating everything to make it like more technology.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and shit.
Now, presumably, right? She's not gonna she didn't just turn evil in the last 10 minutes of the movie, right?
No.
If I had to guess, I would say going forward, it's gonna be certainly a gray area, kind of anti-hero type scenario, but I think she's gonna mostly use it for good, more or less. But yeah, we got that was the post credit or the end card sting there was that it wasn't that Shang-Chi will return, it was that the 10 rings will return. So that's cool.
I think it was interesting, yeah. Probably because that mid-credit scene is he's going to come back. So I think it'd be more interesting to be it's not just him. He's not the most important part of the movie. Everything is important, so remember it going forward. Which I think is which I like. Again, I mean, we could talk about that a little, like the 10 rings thing, because again, obviously my whole prediction about the Trevor Slattery character was all surrounded about this idea that at some point it kind of became a little bit muddled what really was the 10 rings and not and stuff. And I think this movie more or less, between this and then obviously, like we said, we watched the All Hail the King One Piece again, and one shot, sorry. Once again, you slipped up. We're getting closer, ladies and gentlemen.
In that one, I kind of, some of the dialogue in that actually kind of, to me, painted an even more believable picture. It's and because of what we know about this movie, the 10 rings essentially would have went dormant more or less for a while. Only a handful of years, relatively, obviously, because he was around for 1,000 years, and then he took a 6-month or a 6-year break when his kids were little, and then he went right back into it.
Then he tenfold.
But I think there's a chance that the events of Iron Man 1, depending on how you do the math, either took place during the period when he wasn't active as the head of the 10 Rings as an organization, or it could have, I suppose, been at the very beginning of him starting it back up again. But so that kind of would explain why the 10 Rings that we see in Iron Man 1 are a little less organized. They don't seem to be as powerful and have as much in the way of support and logistics and stuff. Because as the sort of cold open of this movie shows, the 10 Rings are 1,000 years old and very powerful, and they had spread to all of the world essentially by the modern day, and had
shaped the course of history
through violence. They had been able to exert their will over history for centuries. So all that being said, it does seem like the 10 Rings that we see in Iron Man 1 are a little underpowered. And then obviously the 10 Rings that we see in Iron Man 3 are not really the 10 Rings at all. It was just Aldrich Killian using that as an image sort of thing. And then obviously the 10 Rings that we see in All Hail the King, those are one and the same as this.
Right, yeah.
And we were saying the other one is that one of the buyers for the Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man is remember the 10 Rings, right? That would definitely have been in the period where he was back up and running and in full swing, I think.
He's getting new technology.
Yeah, so I think that totally checks out as an actual member. And even in the one shot there, they talk about how the 10 Rings has kind of come and gone in relevance, and they were thought to be dormant for a while, but have recently kind of started back up. So I think it all works out for the timeline wise, and it'll be cool to see what his sister there utilizes it for going forward. I mean, I wouldn't, I think it could go the way of she's going to be something of an antagonist now because she's decided to keep it going. But at the very least, she did let girls in, so
that's good.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, keep Gaslight girl boss.
Yeah, she is girl bossing it up a bit.
Hate to see a girl boss win.
Yeah, if that'd be the thing. If Shang-Chi started beating her up, that's not cool. What?
He just hates to see a girl boss win.
Yeah, he would just be hating to see a girl boss win, and that's not what we're about around here.
No, we're down to see a girl boss win.
Absolutely.
All right, so with that, I think that's probably everything we want to talk about this movie, right? Probably.
The only thing I looked up here, that in the comics, right, the 10 Rings are from an alien race called the how do you say that? Makluans?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something like that.
Which is the race to which Fin Fang Foom belongs.
Oh, the rhyming dragon?
The big dragon. Yeah, they're all dragons. They're big dragons. So
that's sick. Better rate Bill fights him.
Which are technically an alien from like different planets. So it could even be that, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, they could be calling out to them.
And if that was the case, even like the dragon from this movie
could be one of
that sort of would, because there is it's actually, I suppose it's not really super clear whether it seems to be sort of maybe hinted to or implied a couple times, or maybe not, that if the rings are actually connected to the city, or if it is really just like they're kind of two separate worlds that come together in, Shang-Chi himself, right?
Right.
Which that seemed to be what I was leaning towards. So
yeah, I think it is. They just combine perfectly within him because he is literally two halves of them.
So in that case, I think the implication is definitely from that mid-credit scene is aliens of some kind. I think that's definitely what we're meant to take from that. So which aliens in particular, though, I guess is yet to be seen. But again, it could just be Skrull. Like I said, it could be a way to lead into sort of... You disagree because like Captain Marvel would recognize them.
Right.
Which I suppose I get, but like... The thing about Secret Invasion, right?
You said it.
Yep.
And Young Avengers.
And all the Young Avengers. and all the... See, but this would be, obviously, that would be... If I did prove to be right, then obviously that would mean Shang-Chi would have to be in it, right?
Right, yeah.
That would be sick. Him beating up a bunch of aliens. The only thing is, like, obviously the whole point of the Secret Invasion show is kind of predicated on the fact that Captain Marvel doesn't know them. That it's a different group of Skrull. Because if it was just the same one she was cool with, they wouldn't be invading Earth.
Because they're like, oh, it's cool. They let us live.
So, yeah. That's kind of it. I don't know if there's much else to be derived from that. But cool thread. I'm glad to see him tied in. Again, he very well could be in Doctor Strange or for all we know.
I mean, everybody's in Doctor Strange. Fucking throw him in at this point.
If not, I don't know. If he's not in that or in Secret Invasion... It's kind of like, what the hell is he going to be in next?
Yeah.
Because, again, as we've talked about several times in here,
there's no
like, Marvel... Yeah, there's no Avengers, like, massive team-up project that's been really revealed for this phase. And, I don't know, they haven't talked about... I can't imagine that Shang-Chi 2 would come out anytime, like, super soon in the next few years, so...
It's not a sign on the Avengers thing. I remember watching it with the Captain America movies, that as time goes on, if you're just going to watch the Avengers movies... You're going to get real lost real fast. You're going to go 1, 2, okay.
Yeah, I've done this before. I've tried to, like, work it out. And, like, every time I'm like, all right, so you can get by mostly with the Avengers movies. And then maybe, well, you got to watch Civil War for sure, too, though. And probably Captain America 2. And, well, maybe Thor 2 to really get it. And you probably needed the Guardians movies, because otherwise you'd be confused when they show up in Infinity War, right? And then, well, you kind of need to know about Captain Marvel, and then you get to a point where you realize you've still named like half of them.
Yeah, you're over half, so you might as well.
So it's like really, you probably, I'm probably not the good person to ask on that. Is what I'm saying, because I think you really could probably get it down to mostly the Avengers movies and not be terribly lost. But every time I think about it, I'm like, well, I'd want to watch that one too, and I like that movie, so let's throw that one in.
Throw it in for the hell of it. Yeah, I just think it'll be funny looking back. As we get Avengers, probably 5 or 6 or whatever, however they do it.
Yeah.
Still watch.
Well, yeah. I get what you're saying. If they do skip if they truly do not have a quote unquote Avengers movie in Phase 4, it would be very hard to watch the MCU just to the Avengers movies.
Yeah,
if you had
you'd
to
be like,
skip a whole phase.
You were like, who's Moon Knight? Who's She-Hulk? Why are the Fantastic? Who's Blade? What's going on? Yeah. What's going on? Why is Loki back? Oh. All right, so we'll probably I could tack out of this into episode 4 of What If. What if Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands? So what do we think?
I do not think I necessarily enjoyed it as much as last week, or probably. Ooh. I mean, I guess I didn't dislike it or hate it by any means. It's probably my least favorite straight up of the ones so far. But again, that's not to say I disliked it or anything.
I thought it was pretty cool, actually. I have an opposite opinion, I think.
Oh, really?
I think it was probably...
Was it like your favorite?
Yeah, almost.
Wow. Okay.
Again,
I didn't hate it, though. Like, the thing is, I think they've all been good so far. There's not been any that I've truly disliked, so...
Yeah, just, for a pure ranking sake.
Yeah, but if I had to...
Someone's got to be bottom.
Yeah, exactly. I think part of it for me probably is that there wasn't... I mean, I guess there was action, but I don't know. There wasn't as much, I feel like, and it wasn't as... I don't know. I mean, I guess there was. So I don't know what I mean, but I don't know. It was a little more simple, I suppose. There wasn't a lot like a variety to it. It was just kind of a lot of Doctor Strange shooting energy beams at things.
That makes sense. The reason I liked it so much is because it kind of kind of makes my prediction correct when we first started talking about What If, way back when the trailer came out, where I said it would be a Uatu showing Doctor Strange the multiverse. And in this one, it's the first Doctor Strange one, and then a Uatu like directly speaks to him.
This is the first time he's, I think, directed, touched any of them, which is cool.
Which he does, we've talked about many times before. He does a lot. Him and Doctor Strange interact the most out of anyone. And, Fantastic Four is with Uatu a lot, but those two groups interact with him the most out of anyone.
I should say, conceptually, I didn't think this episode was bad, or I didn't dislike it was a good premise, and I think it was executed well. I just don't think it was as interesting of a premise to put into TV, I guess, is what it comes down to for me. But yeah, it was pretty good. And again, I
very dark.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was pretty grim. It was like you were kind of surprised. You said you were surprised by it, right? Is that like it just ends badly?
Yeah,
it's just all there is to it.
Doctor Strange is trapped in the void alone forever.
Yeah. Even the other ones, which like all have, like we've mentioned before, there's kind of like all the other ones. There is sort of a continuing thread, and like obviously the first one ends kind of grim. Of she lost her boyfriend, and then the second one is like, well, T'Challa worked out pretty good, but oh shit, Ego's about to get
Peter Quill,
and they're not going to be able to stop him. That's going to be rough.
Yeah.
How are they going to deal with that? And like even last week, it was like, well, shit, Loki invaded Earth, but it was still kind of left on like the hope of like, all right, but there's still an Avengers. They're still going to do
There's
something.
Still a
here.
team of people ready to.
And this one just that universe just collapsed. It's gone.
Yeah, there's no thread because there's nothing left except for Doctor Strange in a bubble forever.
So, yeah, that is pretty grim. But it's kind of, again, it definitely works conceptually for the point of this show. Of like, hey, one change can destroy the galaxy.
The universe.
This thread of the multiverse is gone because of what he did. I will say I liked the sort of initial scene where he's just trying to
save her.
Yeah, just through like time travel. And how no matter what he did, this was... Yeah,
it had to happen.
The ancient one, said this was like destined to happen. This was an important point in history.
Which I think is important to bring this up. Is that I think that might use that going forward. That there are fixed points in time. That there are certain things that must always occur, and I think that will separate it from Kang because I don't think those are decided by Kang, or maybe they are because when he's He Who Remains. I just wonder if those are set by him, and he's like, well, these always have to happen, but he can always make anything happen. So I just wonder how they're gonna play that out.
Yeah, the more this show goes on, the more and more I feel pretty sure that it's gonna tie in like directly, like either by the end or like Uatu's gonna pop up in something. But yeah, I think this stuff is all very relevant to the universe as a whole. Again, especially because they're doing this multiverse kind of plot. I think more or less each episode he kind of is teaching some variation on a lesson about the sort of the multiverse and how it works, which at the very least this is stuff that's just kind of like helpful for us to know as viewers going forward. And I think at most it could directly kind of lead in. A lot of people have been theorizing that like, because again, that is sort of like a hallmark of Uatu's thing, is that he's always like, I can't interfere, but then he's like, yeah, I gotta interfere though.
Yeah, this one time I'm gonna interfere.
So people have been theorizing that, even though as of so far they have been totally disconnected, that by the end of this season, in the last couple hours or something's gonna happen where they're gonna like, the different universes are gonna cross over, come together, or something's gonna happen in one of these timelines that Uatu's gonna intervene with. And I think there's a good chance of that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because of the lines he says, because this is the only episode where he is not a disembodied voice.
Yeah, he's definitely he touched more.
He's a physical form. Because one of the points he says is he kind of laments the fact that he can't stop Doctor Strange. Yeah, he's like, well, this isn't right. Like, I know what's supposed to happen, and this can't happen because this will go poorly. But I can't risk, because if I tell him not to do it, it could destroy countless other timelines, and I cannot risk one for many. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, is Uatu obviously has always been in the comics even the like narrator, quote unquote, of the What If series, right? And like all sorts of things, like I always I've read a couple times now, the 1602 thing. It's the same kind of thing where every time he's like whenever he's in one of these sort of alternate sort of stories, he's like, yeah, I know what it's supposed to be, and this isn't right and all, but yeah, it's not my place to change. Like, I just observe.
Just watches.
And I did really like that exchange with him where, yeah, he came down and literally talked to Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange's like, why don't you fix this? And he's like, that's not what I do, first of all.
I'm not a god.
Second of all, yeah. He's like, I've seen you, you're a god. And he's like, I'm not a god. Neither are you. And you flew too close to the sun on this one, big guy.
Come on, you're gonna fall now, Icarus. Sorry, my man. Peace.
So I think that's cool. Although Uatu really does have a lot of more power than maybe he let on there. Although I feel like Uatu's thing mostly isn't what he can do, it's what he can tell you.
It's what he knows.
His power really is just knowledge.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah. It's better than a garage of Ferraris.
Oh, yeah, that guru
knowledge.
God, I hate all those gurus.
But so, like, that, again, even, like I always say in that 1602 thing, his thing isn't, like, what he does. It's what he tells Doctor Strange that he can do.
Right. It's like, well, you can do this. Do it. Do this, and this, and you'll fix it. We were. I think we talked about this last time with when he appears in Civil War with Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
But what we didn't talk about is that he appears earlier in the comic and doesn't speak to anyone, and they're like, "Who's this guy?" And the thing's like, "Oh, that's the Watcher." He only appears when something big's happening, and Doctor Strange is like, him showing up is not a good sign of things to come. It's very bad. Because he's like, if he's showing up, that means he needs to be right in the middle of the action to know exactly what's going to happen. Which I kind of like, kind of ominousness, anonymity. I don't know.
But yeah, I'm becoming more and more convinced that that like Jeffrey Wright is gonna appear physically in one of these movies or something.
I think it may be Doctor Strange too, because everybody's
that would be the most obvious choice for sure. Again, with the more that we're learning about it and all, it's yeah. I don't know. And again, I wouldn't necessarily think I have any specific ideas right now on how or like what form it's going to take, but I do think there's going to be some manner of like overarching plot for this by the end. Is that at some point it's going to be revealed like they are connected in some way, or like Uatu does have to do, or like this is somehow all these multiple universes are somehow connected to one of these other shows or movies or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, again, even like we talked about last week, even in the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer, or Homecoming, that's
you
not
went
close to
you went all the way back
in the No Way Home trailer. Doctor Strange specifically mentions the multiverse at all. So like, again, all this stuff is coming to a head. It's gonna be sweet, and I think it's either been rumored or maybe even officially announced that there's gonna be another season of What If. So like,
oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like, they could just play around with all kind of concepts forever here.
I think that this first season is gonna be like tying the MCU, but I think the second one will probably just be for like a laugh. You know what I mean? Like it won't.
Yeah, because if they I get what you mean. Because if in Doctor Strange 2 they more or less
fix it,
they more or less wrap up this kind of multiverse plot. But then again, Loki season 2, it's like that's why I'm kind of like on the fence about it. And we talked about the end of Loki season 1 there. It's like,
we'll see episode 5 once Future Kang.
This is when it really starts to get sort of crazy with all the different properties, because it's like, if Loki's going to be in Doctor Strange season 2, and like that is Doctor Strange. Did I say Doctor Strange? I meant Doctor Strange 2, right? And Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness there is going to have significant ramifications on, say, Loki season 2. Then it's like, not that this doesn't already apply to a lot of Marvel stuff, but it's like you're really going to have to watch it in between, and like it does boggle the mind a little. So like, yeah, I guess I kind of forgot about Loki season 2. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how that's gonna tie, because that is still obviously dealing with this same kind of stuff of time travel and multiverses and stuff. So I guess not everything can be very
and it's the only
fixed.
Direct link to Kang.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The man who is time travel. So I wonder if he'll.
Then again, it's like
show up more.
The current going rumor is that Kang isn't even the villain of Multiverse of Madness. Not truly. So maybe the Kang stuff will be more or less fully relegated to
Loki,
and
which I kind of hope not.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Although then again, we talk about like he may be sneakily like the overarching villain, even more into like far beyond Doctor Strange season 2 for like most of this.
You did it again.
Oh shit! Well beyond even like Multiverse of Madness and Loki season 2. He might be the overarching sort of villain for this
phase,
or shit, the next 2 phases. Like,
who even knows?
Yeah. Let me just. So, season 2 is absolutely going through.
Oh, is it what season 2 is confirmed?
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Oh, we can also mention that Benedict Cumberbatch is himself in this.
Oh yeah, we could do our classic bit for all these what if episodes where we just name all the voice actors.
Is Rachel McAdams her character?
Yeah.
Benedict Wong is himself.
Yeah, Benedict Wong's one. Again,
Swinton.
like we've been saying with some of these, the voice acting is not always doesn't always come across super great, and Benedict Cumberbatch is maybe the most significant example of that so far. There's times where I'm really like, is that him? And that's not what you want, right?
No.
Like
you want it to be like, oh, that's of course him. They did the classic Doctor Strange joke where he tells, like, somebody thinks his name's different. He goes, oh, it's Strange, and they go, well,
yeah,
I've heard stranger names, Armani. Or
yeah, I like that. I enjoyed that as well.
It's a good bit.
Let me just bring it up here. The most significant, or not significant, actually the least significant, but just a really amusing returning cast member is her name's Leslie Bibb. She's an actress who returned as Christine Everhart, who is the reporter from Iron Man 1 and 2. And she appears for like a second in this episode.
Oh, when she reports that her building's on fire?
As the reporter on TV, yep.
They got her, for 20 minutes? Or 10 minutes?
Yeah, I don't even know. It's crazy.
They were like, here, read this line into a mic?
I mean, that's just insane, right?
Yeah.
Like, that is... Bravo. Above and beyond. Because here's the thing. Nobody would have gave you even... Probably no one hardly cares as it is. I mean,
yeah.
We didn't notice until we looked it up. And, but just good on them. I don't know. They're just going above and beyond to an extent, right? Because it could have just been any other sub-reporter. They could have used that reporter character and just changed the voice actors and no one would know them. But they really just were like, hey, may as well.
Might as well just put them all in.
That's the kind of stuff I was talking about before, right? They were like, well, for this 2-second scene, we need a reporter. Do we have one of those? We do. Get her back.
Get her back. We need her. Give her a call.
We could recast. It's 100%. It's more than believable that it would be a different reporter
doing it
because there's more than one reporter in the world
and on Earth. There's not like one champion reporter.
But shit, we already have a reporter. May as well use her, and they did. And
summon her.
Good on them.
Summon her. Her time is now.
Good on them. Am I right?
Good enough, I think.
But yeah, I enjoyed. Excited for next week. We'll do this again.
Well, yes, we'll do it again. We'll do it till it ends.
Mm-hmm.
If we got more to do before we're done,
as
they say. Anything else to talk about? Anything other Attack topics you want to do?
I think it's something to say.
Oh, yes. We're talking about, actually, probably future MCU shows that James Gunn has talked about how he wants to do a Ravengers show.
Yeah, that was it.
What do you think about that? Would you be
interested
in that?
Here's the thing to me. I'm sure it would be fine or good or probably better than fine. I mean, good on James Gunn. At this point, I feel like he knows what he's doing with superhero stuff. So if he put his mind to it, I'm sure it'd be good. And it's one of those things that whenever I hear that somebody has an idea that they want to pursue, that to me, it always, I err on the side of like, it's probably going to be good, right? Because this isn't something where Marvel said to him, hey, do you want to do this? This is something, if he went out of his way to be like, hey, this show that no one's asked for, I would like to do, it probably is because he has a good idea. Right?
Yeah, or some kind of plan.
So, all that said, sure. I will say it seems like a weird time to do it because Yondu's dead, and he was like the core of that. So it's like if they do a quote unquote Ravagers show, I can't imagine it would have the Guardians really. So if it's gonna be like what, Kraglin and Taserface, like I don't know.
But Taserface, they killed him.
Well, he is. They did. They killed Taserface. Or like they could be like Stallone and those guys, like the old Guardians.
Oh yeah.
That sort of team, which that would be cool. I think.
I don't think they could. If they got Sylvester Stallone to do a Disney Plus show, that'd be impressive. They get a lot of sway then.
I guess that kind of actually. Did you hear some of the other stuff about what's his name? James Gunn that came out? Is that when he was working on Suicide Squad and after they fired him from Disney and DC immediately scooped him up like that week to come do a project?
Yeah.
Initially they wanted him to do Superman.
Really? They did?
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, not really. I don't really have a great idea for Superman. And they were like, hey, do Superman though, huh? And he's like, I don't know. Could I just do Suicide Squad again? And they're like, I guess.
And Superman's not really good on him being like, it's not really my character.
Which, I mean,
I think James Gunn does best for like weird groups of weirdos.
Exactly. Not to pigeonhole him, but it kind of ties into what we said when we talked about Suicide Squad is like, I feel like that's what he seems to attach to. seems what
I
he
mean,
prefers.
It's not even really pitching on it. If he himself was like,
No,
actually,
yeah,
I don't
that's what he's
want
about. Again, I'm sure if he wanted to and had a good idea for
a Superman
Superman,
movie.
he'd do great. But yeah, if he doesn't want to,
Don't make him.
Yeah.
Just come out bad. Also connected to that, the reason he can't make Ravager show currently is because he's doing the Peacemaker show.
yeah. So
which has 2 seasons. It's been renewed for a second one already.
So like we mentioned this on, again, when we talked about Suicide Squad,
Episode 8, Justice League Slender Hour.
and I was like, man, that's a weird choice, but okay, whatever. Like, good on him. But once again, if I didn't realize how personally involved James Gunn was on it, but he wrote and I think either produced or directed. Like, I think he was there in person for that whole show. So if he was that personally invested in it, then I can't imagine it'll be anything but good.
Yeah,
I guess he
enjoyable.
knows what he's doing. To me, it seemed like at first my thought was like, okay, so are they just taking Peacemaker from this because John Cena is like a marketable name and they're just gonna Warner Brothers or whoever decided to just do a John Cena show essentially, and they decided to use his property because Peacemaker is like, he's not a well-known property even within DC. Like,
Yeah.
he's not really been utilized much, I don't think, in recent stuff, right? He's like a pulpy character from like the 70s and 80s, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, if James Gunn is actually like the driving force behind all this and it was his idea and stuff, then power to him.
Like
I'm
we
sure
said,
it'd be
if he
interesting.
the fact that he wants to do it
Yeah.
means that he actually.
I thought it was just them taking it. Yeah, I thought it was some corporatized decision.
They were like, well, John Cena's
John
more
Cena, yeah, he's worth X amount of popularity points. So if we use him, the show will.
we invest quickly into his tree. He'll.
Push up their glasses. The show will make at least 6.2 million return.
Now, I remember off pod, I mentioned we were going to talk about this. 'Cause we kind of. So, hey, leave it on, listeners. We actually plan a little bit for this show.
Mhm.
Not enough, though. Hey, now we're not a good show,
No.
mind you,
Listen,
but just enough to get by. Don't think we're good now. Hey, hold on now. If you think we're good, take that away.
yeah,
But anyway, and aside from me being insane, is that recently it's come out, I think like today or yesterday, the news kind of people were circulating that John Cena has expressed interest in playing The Thing in Fantastic Four, which I think probably would work, honestly.
yeah,
I think it'd be a pretty good fit.
I think so.
So that means you got John Krasinski, we got Emily Blunt, we got John Cena. But going along with that, Kevin Feige had a quote where they were like, well, do you have like any ideas of what the Fantastic Four cast is going to look like? Like, how far are we in that? And he said that there's going to be a mix of like established actors and like new actors. Like, it's like any other Marvel project. I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's good. You don't want too much either way because it probably might suffer. I don't know.
Interesting. So what are you telling me that it's not John Krasinski and Emily Blunt?
I kind of hope it is.
I actually I've come around too. I think it'd be fun if it
Yeah.
was. At this point, I feel like no matter if it's not them, no matter who it is, people are gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, they're
right?
gonna be like, "Why weren't you in it, John?" He's gonna be like, "Dude, I'm making Quiet Place 3, 4, and 5 right now.
I'm doing the Quiet Place spinoff and the Quiet Place series. Leave me alone. I've
think-
got my cash cow, and it is
Yeah.
a Marvel. All right, listen.
I was in the office. I don't need to do anything.
Well, yeah, honestly, but yeah, I've got my one.
Me and my also very, very popular and good actress wife do not need a Marvel money.
I thought about it for a second about doing your Marvel movie for your money, but then I thought I have my own series.
And then I
that
remembered,
I'm
wait a
in
minute,
charge
I'm
of.
in the office. I don't need money ever again.
I already have a
A gold-plated
massive
yacht,
franchise that I can drive into the ground if I so choose.
if I so desire.
I mean, that's how good though. John Cena.
Both of
Couple
them.
Johns.
Couple of Johns. That's what they call Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four. Couple of Johns.
Yeah, I think he'd work as a thing. It kind of depends on the sort of philosophy that you have going into the thing, because you can do like a Michael Chiklis philosophy from the those early 2000s Fantastic Four movies, which is you get a big dude to be Ben Grimm, and then he's the Thing, or you can go like a Fan Four Stick philosophy, which is they got Jamie Bell, who's like he's definitely like a smaller, kind of scrawnier sort of guy.
Yeah.
Who then he gets big because he gets big. Like, it depends on what your philosophy there is, right? It's like, should he be the Thing because he was a big dude to begin with?
And now he's made of rock.
Or should it be just like, well, no, he was just normal and the Thing obviously changed him. The event changed him. So, but yeah, the only thing like, I'm sure John Cena could be serious and he has been and stuff, so I don't want to discredit him too much. But Ben Grimm is also like,
Pretty tragic.
well, that I was gonna say more like he's like smart as well. He's not just a bruiser.
Yeah, it's true.
He's like an astronaut and shit. And so
Yeah,
like,
I mean, yeah, he went to school with Reed Richards.
Yeah,
Like, he's
so-
not a dummy.
yeah. Again, I'm sure they would do that right and all. And again, I'm sure John Cena isn't a dummy in real life or anything, and he could do that just fine. But that is something to think about. He's not just supposed to be like even though he is like a, streetwise, like wisecracking guy,
Jewish man
obviously.
from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Going, oh, vey, what a putz.
He doesn't. Yeah. He should be a little, intellectual.
Yeah, a little
I guess.
wise, a little street smart, a little book smart.
Yeah, a
Bit
little
of
bit
both.
both. Exactly. That's all. But yeah, I'm sure he could do it.
Maybe they'll
Again,
cast
if he
Chris
put his
Evans
mind
to
to
be Johnny Storm.
That'd be
Again.
hilarious. Could you imagine if they got him to return to the MCU?
As
then
a different character.
Because like people have long theorized that when the Fantastic Four do make their way to the MCU, they will make their way from a different universe fully formed, right? They're gonna roll up and say, "Hey, we're the Fantastic Four. We've been the Fantastic Four forever in our universe. We're just coming to check you out," kind of deal. Because again, it's one of those things where it's like anything else, at this point, it just makes it less and less
Plausible.
of a fully realized world, right? If you get like 15 years in the MCU and you're still just introducing the Fantastic Four for the first time, it feels a little cheap, right?
Yeah, you're just like, well,
You're like, oh, shit.
And also the Fantastic Four, and also,
Yeah. So they have no shared history with anything else. Whereas if they come in and they're like, actually, in our world, we know you guys and stuff and all that. Again, it on the one hand, it's already too late for that regardless, right? Because like obviously, ideally, the Fantastic Four would be around from the beginning.
the
like
day
they
one
are.
in the comics.
Well, yeah, they are the day one in the comics, but like, this next best thing would be to have them come through fully and not have to do an origin, right?
Right, yeah.
But is what it is. But if that's the case, it would be funny if they just recast him as Johnny Storm again, and then he comes through and they're like, "Hey guys, we're here. We're the Fantastic Four," and
They're
just
like, oh my god, Captain America!
Like Captain America. He's like, "No, what do you mean?"
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, on our world, Captain America is a woman.
In our world, he was a Nazi. He was in Hydra.
Oh no,
Captain
Don't make
Hydra.
a Nazi. No.
That's canon.
In our world, Captain America looked like Miles Teller. Yeah, no, it's just a weird quirk. I don't know.
And there's just him constantly looking at pictures of him, going, I just don't see it.
No, I don't see it, man.
I think that'd be. I think if they asked, I think they'd be like, yeah, sure, I don't give a fuck.
Well, it's funny because like that, it's kind of easy to forget. But like if you go and look at a lot of Chris Evans's earlier roles and even more recent ones, like Knives Out, right? In that, he's kind of doing a character that's much more, I feel like, emblematic of a lot of his earlier characters, which is to say,
Kind
like
of a
dude
dick.
bro dick. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what he did a lot of.
He was that in Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim, he was in a Not Another Teen movie, right?
Yeah.
He was in the Losers. He was kind of a dude bro sort of dick. And then like he's Captain America, who's like the most wholesome up and down, like
God, warm-blooded, red-blooded American man ever to live.
just real nice. Not even just that he's like patriotic, but he's just a nice man. He's just very thoughtful and
Helping
kinda
people out.
gentle at
He
times.
draws.
Yeah, he draws. He's a bit of an artist. He's the one guy in Civil War who actually took the time to read the
The
chords.
chords.
He's just sitting there with his old man, like.
What's
So yeah, really, like if you look at a lot of his other characters that Chris Evans has ever been, he's just kind of a prick.
Yeah.
In Snowpiercer, he tried to eat a baby.
No, he did eat the baby.
Did he?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. He goes,
yeah,
it's
see,
like,
there's.
oh, spoilers for Snowpiercer. It's like, I know what baby tastes like.
Yeah.
No,
so-
I know. You know. He says his line is, "I know what people taste like, and I know babies taste best,"
Ooh.
which is grim.
So yeah,
Ben Grimm. Oh, look at that.
what I'm saying is I think it would be great if you returned as
Johnny Storm.
if he finally got out after
And they were like, actually,
11 years of this shit, and he was like, I think I'm content to just chill. I really
I
am.
left
I've
my
had
mark
enough.
as a cultural icon forever, and I'll never be forgotten.
Never forgotten. I think I've had my fill, guys.
I've
If
made
it's all-
so much goddamn money.
If it's all the same with you, I think I'll be done. And then-
I'll take my big check, my overly sized check, and I will be on my way, Mr. Mouse. He goes, hold on now. What if you were Johnny Storm again?
Well, no, we'll give you that last check, but wouldn't you like it if you got about 30 more like it? Come back, Chris.
You can't escape. Once I get Chris Pine, I'll have you all. Oh.
No one will ever cast you again. You know this is your only way. You're Captain America now. Now and forever. Oh.
There is no way but the mouse. Oh.
It's our way or the highway. Soon I'll have everything. And if you don't take this roll, you'll never have another roll again. Oh. So, yeah.
Yeah, we pushing boxes at the Walgreens. If I have anything to say about it.
Good stuff.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Mickey Mouse Voice.
Yeah, that was a recurring segment, Mickey Mouse Voice.
We got we got more segments. We got 1940s Big Talking Man. We went, and then we got Mickey Mouse Voice. Look at that. We got new segments.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll remember them. Or maybe we won't.
All right.
So, I think
Good to you?
yeah, I think it's pretty good. So we'll probably wrap it up here. Thanks so much for listening, as always. And you can email us at ekatakjazz, ekatakjaz@gmail.com. Find us at Twitter at ekatakjazz. You know, they're the same. We are always on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, and Amazon/Audible. We're on YouTube. So if whatever one is more convenient or you prefer more, we got a lot of options for you. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts since we're on there. Leave a comment and tell your friends. So, yeah, as always, we wrote it, we produced it, we built all the sets. Say goodnight, everybody, Zach.
Good night.
Good night.